Come gather round, and I'd like to tell you a story about a man in New York who has no home. He goes by the name of Fred Innocent. That's actually his name, by the way. And in this story, this poor, desperate man was seeking to relieve his bowel of human waste. And he needed some way to clean himself afterward. You're already probably pissed off at this segment. And unfortunately for this man, the only thing that he could find was a flag. A flag representing a psychotic far-left ideology. And he desecrated that flag and is now being criminally charged in ridiculously severe ways. Yo, this is a story about a homeless man who took a dump on an LGBTQ flag. So they're charging him with numerous hate crimes and they want to lock him up. Yo, you can be in New York and you can threaten people and they will defend you and condemn the victims. But heaven forbid you're a homeless guy who takes a dump on their flag. They will lock you up. Oh boy, let's take a look at this story. Homeless man charged with hate crimes for defecating on 2 LGBTQ plus pride flags. And when I tell you, get out of New York and you don't listen, I ain't going to come running for you to come help when they lock you up for something similar. Now, I really doubt y'all will be taking dumps on pride flags, but you get the point. Sooner or later, it will be you. They will knock on your door and say, we've heard you've been speaking hate speech. You're under arrest. And you'll be like, what are you talking about? I was just watching the game. Well, your neighbor said hate speech. Just like in the Soviet Union. A homeless man has been charged with several hate crimes for defecating on an LGBTQ pride flag and wiping his behind with another at a Manhattan restaurant. Fred Innocent walked into Busio 95, a tapas bar on West 95th Street and Broadway on the Upper West Side on April 15th at about 10 a.m. as the day crew was setting up and grabbed 2 rainbow flags off a table. He relieved himself on one of the banners, according to police, then cleaned himself with another. Yo, it's New York, baby. This was a total hate crime, restaurant owner Courtney Barrel said after hearing of the arrest. He came in within 15 minutes of us opening the restaurant. He could have gone to Popeyes or McDonald's around the corner. He could have used napkins. She said that she puts the flags up in the restaurant to show that she's welcoming to the gay community. We support everyone, no matter what kind of background, race, or lifestyle. Well, apparently not this guy. This poor homeless guy. What's he supposed to do? Take a dump on the floor? How's he going to wipe his butt? He needed help, and you attacked him for it. I think the restaurant owners should be criminally charged as racists. I think New York, you got to get on it, huh? She said that she felt Innocent zeroed in on the flags because of intolerance. He took the only 2 flags in the area, and he used one to defecate and the other to wipe himself. Well, sounds like he was just using the flags to wipe, to clean up. They're like, he could have done something else. How big are the napkins? You know, what are we talking about here? Restaurant porter Enrique Trujillo discovered the mess as he cleaned the dining shed. I smelled something really bad, Trujillo said shortly after the incident. When I started to clean the corners, that's when I saw it. The man carried out his disgusting act beneath a surveillance camera, Trujillo said. Barrel said the hate crimes detectives worked tirelessly to track Innocent down. I want to thank the NYPD detectives for catching him. They worked so hard on this. Yo, this is the future of your country. Y'all ready for this? NYPD doing the hard work of tracking down a homeless man who took a dump on a pride flag. There you go. Innocent, whose address comes back to a Harlem shelter, was charged with burglary, harassment, and trespassing, all as hate crimes. He was also hit with additional trespassing charges and burglary, not as a hate crime. He was arrested in Midtown and was awaiting arraignment as of Wednesday evening. If I'm asked to go to court, I'm going to press for the maximum charge possible. It's a cult. These people are dangerous, violent psychopaths that will weaponize the powers of the state if you so defy their symbols. If you're a homeless... Oh, this is right out of the Gulag Archipelago. I watched that segment on Jeopardy, where no one could say the name of Solzhenitsyn properly, and I'm probably still saying it wrong. I heard people say Solzhenitsyn, And I think they corrected it and said Solzhenitsyn, which is still probably wrong. Nobody could say his name, but he writes the Gulag Archipelago. And he talks about how if you're a criminal, well, we get it. It's too bad. But if you're a citizen, you knew better. Take a look at this story. Here's what it is. In New York City, a homeless man threatens harm against people. He says he'll hurt anybody and he doesn't care if he goes to jail. 3 men took it upon themselves to subdue this man. The man died. Now, these 3 men tried to save his life after they subdued him, but AOC wants them locked up. She wants them charged with murder because these people are evil. I am not being cute. Literally, this is what evil is. Yet for this homeless man who harmed no one but took a dump on a flag, they want the maximum charge possible. I hope you understand what is happening to this country and you reflect upon this, because if you live in these cities, that's what's coming next. You see these videos. There's a story that I'll probably talk about in a little bit about a woman who's saying these woke schools are bad and the students are protesting. It's students today. But what happens when these students are in their 30s? Do you think they'll just ignore and forget all about this stuff? It's going to get crazier. Would you have ever thought that they would have done something like this to a poor, homeless black man? I did, because we know how the game is played. Larry Elder is the black face of white supremacy. It makes no sense. All that matters is the cult wants power. And if you insult them, you get the boot. That's basically what the Soviet Union was. It's not so much to me about communism or any of these ideologies, but about human nature and human behavior. Dangerous, psychotic zealots amass power and do horrible things. We hear of stories. It could be the fascists, the Nazis, the communists. Authoritarianism exists across the board when psychotic ideologies go unchecked. There are many stories throughout history of psychotic individuals doing psychotic things and large psychotic groups of people running and hunting down people, forming mobs. And that's why we have the Constitution. Innocent has had several prior runs with the law. In January of this year, he was arrested for a burglary after swiping a purse. Last October, he was busted for grand larceny. What I find fascinating about the story is that they didn't care about those crimes. Those crimes, he was released out onto the street. But now, a victimless crime. He stole someone's flag, so to be fair, that's victimizing. I get that. But he took a dump on a flag, and for that, he gets the boot. Take a look at this story from Newsweek. Republican cities that have higher crime rates than New York. I don't think Newsweek's all that bad, to be completely honest, but this headline is fake news. They don't even mention Republican cities. In fact, they mention Chicago. I'm just like, what is this? What does crime in New York look like? What about crime in GOP-led cities? And then they go on to reference several cities that are, interestingly, only recently GOP-led. And the other thing that I think is important to bring up when they talk about this, they mention places like Chicago and other Democrat cities. They highlight this tweet. Kevin Cruz saying a recent study found New York to be the 5th safest city in America. Now, what does that really mean? Take a look at this. He posts this 15 safest and 15 most dangerous. And of the safest city, there are some that lean Republican or in Republican jurisdictions. And then of the 15 most dangerous, it's basically the same thing. It doesn't seem, for the most part, that there's a big distinction between the politics of the city, except there are more cities that are Democrat and they have higher crime. They have more crime. Now, I don't know why the perception is, for sure, but I can give you my thoughts. If you live in New York, which has some of the highest crime in the country, or Chicago, what they then do is say it's per capita. So that's the game they're playing. If you look at some of these smaller Republican-led cities, what will you find? You'll find the population is smaller and crime exists. But if you have 100 people and one person commits a crime, that's 1% crime. If in New York you have 100 people, and you have 1 million people, and 1,000 commit a crime, that's still 1%. That means that in New York, the percentages will be about the same. In a place like a Republican-controlled city, it is higher and some of them, I should say, not all of them. In fact, it's mostly the other way around. We covered this a long time ago. Democrat cities tend to have higher crime per capita, but this is the point I'm getting to. You can easily isolate cities and say, aha, look how many of these cities have bad crime and how many are Republican. Well, a lot less than the ones that are Democrat. And there's a mix. The most dangerous cities, St. Louis, Mobile, Alabama, Birmingham, Baltimore, Memphis, Tennessee, Detroit, doesn't sound overwhelmingly Republican. But either way, I don't care if it's true. It doesn't affect me. It doesn't bother me. If there's crime in these cities, so be it. The issue is who is trying to solve the problem and who offers you an option. Typically, in Republican-controlled jurisdictions, you have a right to keep and bear arms and defend yourself. There may be more crime. It's unfortunate, but that's a place that I would prefer. I prefer to be in a place where I have the ability to protect myself in the event there is crime. And I'm not convinced it's actually true what they're claiming. There are some cities that have Republican. I think Mobile, Alabama is Republican. It does have high crime. Then you look at a place like New York and you can see the problem with their crime. They allow criminals to run rampant, which brings us to the most important point. Is New York actually all that safe, or are they just not stopping crime? Here's what you need to understand about these stats. If in Mobile, Alabama, they arrest every criminal and track that, you will see a high rate of crime. If in New York City, they don't stop criminals, you will see a low rate of crime. And that's exactly what we see in many of these places. Crimes in New York go unreported. Police don't want to write things down. I had a cab driver literally try to kidnap me, and I had to jump out of the car while moving, and the cops threatened me with arrest because they don't want to deal with it. So the real question is much more complicated than just where is the higher crime. The real question is, one, fair point. Yes, there are Republican cities with higher crime than Democrat cities. Absolutely. That's a problem. Not here to play games or defending Republicans and act like they're perfect. The real question is, if you're in New York City and you get mercilessly beaten, will they stop the criminal? Likely not. In a lot of instances, sure, but they'll release them right away. If you defecate on a pride flag, you'll get locked up with the maximum charge. If you're in one of these Republican jurisdictions, they probably will arrest this person and stop them. And does that mean that crime isn't being tracked the same in Democrat cities? We know that's true. So either way, I don't care if Democrats want to live that way. That's my point. If you want to live in New York and go to prison for crapping on a flag, go ahead and live there. I'm just not going to defend you. Don't care. And if you want to live in a Republican-controlled jurisdiction that has more crime, but you have the right to defend yourself, that I get. Pick your poison, right? That's New York for you. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 6 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.